What are you getting ready to do, Miss Lisa?
Seed starting.
Seed what?
Starting.
Seed starting. Whoop, got a little bit of a water leak going on there. Welcome back to the Piney Woods Homestead, y'all. Today Lisa is going to be planting a whole bunch of seeds. And if you've never planted a seed in your life, stick around, you're going to figure out just how to do it. Ain't that right?
That's right.
Huh?
That's right.
I can't hear you.
That's right.
All right. Stick around.
All I'm doing is filling up my trays with some good seedling mix. If you've never started seeds before, you don't want to use potting soil. You want to get a good seedling mix, and the reason is because it's just super fine and it gives those little tiny seedlings something to grow through that won't stunt them. Potting soil a lot of times has bark and wood chips and stuff, and you know, some of it is finer, but it's not really made for that. So we just use this black gold seedling mix, and it's worked great for us. And we have these heavy duty trays from Haas Tools. You don't have to have anything this nice if you're just starting out. I've been starting seeds, I'm gonna age myself, for over 20 years, and I've done everything from just cups to like the Jiffy brand that you can find in any big box store with the little pods that expand with water. And those work great, but we grow so many that something long term, because we do this for every season, so we wanted something a little bit sturdier and long term. But if you decide to go this route, you just want to make sure that you really pack in the dirt good, and then once you get it packed in, wet it down, because you want it to be really moist. When you first plant the seeds, it's a whole lot easier to have it a little moist now, so that you're not going to disrupt the seeds after you've got them in there. And it makes them easier to plant too. They'll stay pretty much with the wet soil in the center. That's probably good on that one. And I encourage everybody, you know, get a little bit more food sustainability. And seed starting can be intimidating. I get that, especially now with YouTube. There's so many channels, so much information. Some of it varies. I actually started seeds before YouTube even was around, and just read and studied and learned. And honestly, I think that was a blessing, because everything that I see now is overwhelming, and it's really not that hard. Anybody can do it. And if you figure a pack of seeds is about $4, and I think this year if you go buy a 4-inch pot with a tomato plant in it, it's gonna be around $4, $5, $6, depending on where you get it from. For that same price, a pack of seeds has 100 seeds, so you could get 100 tomato plants for the price of one.
Lisa just hit on it there, food security. It's a good thing to have food in your pantry. And if you've been to the grocery store lately, depending on where you live out, you might see the shelves are a little bit bare. So learn how to plant a seed now, so that when it comes time for fall, when you're wanting to have food to put up, you can find it in your yard.
I already have about 240 plants in the house right now, from broccoli to collards to kohlrabis, and today we're doing tomatoes and peppers, and we're going to do probably another 200 to 250 of those. And you don't have to do that many. We grow the majority of our food. We preserve it. So we need a high amount to get what we need to put up for the year. And if you decide to start seeds, most of the packets will tell you 4 to 6 weeks for tomatoes and peppers before your last frost. And you can easily find your last frost just by typing in your zip code. For us, and it's an estimate, for us our last frost is supposed to be April the 11th. So Monday will be 6 weeks away from our last frost. And again, that's an estimate. Last year we had to scramble and cover things. We don't normally plant any of this out even until usually Mother's Day, just because that's an estimate. And
what about May? About the 1st of May?
Yeah.
Sometimes earlier, depending on what we're planting.
Yeah, and that's
collards are going to grow in the ground here in about 2 weeks.
Well, yeah. May is for
broccoli, stuff like that.
Yeah, but well, May is for tomatoes and peppers and green beans. The broccolis, collards, kohlrabis. We didn't do cabbage for the spring. We'll do those in the fall. But all of those had to be started 8 to 10 weeks before our last frost. And they'll actually go in the ground in another week or so. But all you have to do is just, like I said, find your zip code, type it in, and it'll tell you the estimate. And then go from there. And not everything does well as transplants, but tomatoes, huh?
Didn't even need it. Let me have my knife back.
There are some things that don't do good as transplants, but
like what?
Squash does okay as a transplant, and you know, you can find the plants in big box stores, and I've started them from seed for years, but their roots just don't like to be disturbed. And the same thing with cucumbers. And we actually tested this theory last summer. We started a bunch of cucumbers, planted them, and then later on towards the end of summer we did a second planting, but instead of starting them to transplant, we direct sowed, and they actually did better than the ones that we transplanted, just because there was no root disruption or any of that. And you know, if it says direct sow, that means you just, you know, stick it in the ground where you want it to grow. Once you get them all filled with dirt, you're just gonna go through and really soak them down. You want it to be able to soak through all the way, and you can dampen the soil before you put them in the trays, but I'm not a fan of that just because it's easier for me to do it this way, and I'm not wasting as much dirt. So, and we'll have to let this sit for a few minutes and then come back and check it again.
Key is you want to get it damp all the way through.
Yes.
You don't want any dry spots.
Right. But you don't want to have this on a high pressure setting to really soak it, or you're going to blast all your dirt out of the cells.
The soil.
Sorry. Soil.
We call it dirt down here.
Well, the bag says mix, so I guess I'll go with that then. While these are soaking, I just kind of wanted to explain another benefit to starting your stuff from seeds. If you go to a big box store, any big box store, they generally source all of their plants from one large company. So you're going to see the same, like Better Boy tomato or, you know, basic cayenne pepper. But if you start them yourself, you know, you go on these seed companies and they have all different varieties. And some of the ones that are sold here, like the broccoli that's sold in the big box store here in our local town, is not really the best variety for this area, but that's what's available for them to sell. So like the green magic broccoli is going to be much better for our warmer weather here. You can't find a green magic broccoli plant in stores. So hopefully we're going to have a great big harvest, because I've got about 36 plants of those going and still have tons of seeds. And I think it was like $3.99 for the pack. So we'll get, 36 this time, and I think there might have been 200 seeds in that pack. So, we've got a couple of years worth of seeds left.
Don't rush this step of soaking these trays. It's going to take a few times. You have to test a few of them. And like Lisa's done here with a stick, she'll go in there and kind of dig through one of the cells and make sure it's not dry. The last thing you want is any dry soil down in there for your roots to get hung up in. It can actually stunt the plant or kill it. So make sure that they're moist. Not wringing wet, but moist all the way through. Or damp. Damp. Is that a better word? Damp.
Damp.
Make sure they're damp.
Yeah. Now I have all of my seeds just stored in these trays. Photo storage box.
Let me see that again. Hold it up. Green. Hold it still.
Okay.
Trying to actually see it.
Oh, so
Green magic broccoli.
yeah. And I have all of them because I'm OCD. Sorted by type. So I have my tomatoes, then I have hot peppers and bell peppers, and I actually have a list that I'm gonna have to run get, because Matthew and I sat down and figured out exactly how many of everything we wanted, so that when it came time to this, I'd know exactly how many to plant. So I need to run get my list. And as I said, the varieties that you can get by getting your own seeds and starting them yourself. We got the Right on Red, which will be a little compact. And this is great if you don't have space, if you don't have an in-ground garden, if you don't have raised beds. Do pots, do containers. And same thing with the Orangey Sweet. It's going to be a little compact plant that'll be great for one of these pots here, which is probably where it's going to go. And we have pepperoncinis, bell peppers, and that is what we're going to do of the sweet ones. So I will start with the Orangey Sweet. And there's your pepper seeds. Looks exactly like the seeds that are in the pepper, because that's what they are. But these are great because peppers are easy to plant because you can actually see the seeds. Tomatoes are much smaller, so all you do is just, I'm gonna take and you just want to make a little bitty, about a 1/4 inch deep is what you want to plant. And like with everything else, the seed packets will tell you how deep to plant them, whether they need to stay on top of the surface. But with peppers and tomatoes both, it's usually about a 1/4 inch depth. And you just want to get them in there, like I said, about a 1/4 inch deep. And I just like to take a pencil and cover them up. And tomatoes and peppers, well, with any seed, they don't need light to germinate. So, don't worry that you don't have grow lights or a greenhouse. You know, we grow everything inside. I always have. They just need, once they come up, they need heat to germinate. And then once they come up, they need light. So if you've got a good windowsill, stick them in there. But once they do come up, they do need the light. So they'll need direct light. But we start them in our laundry room. It's nice and warm in there. And we do have grow lights to keep them going. And it's as easy as that. And these trays have this bottom tray that you'll just sit them in. And when I get through planting all of them, I'll put just a little bit of water in the bottom and make sure the top is still good and moist. And I love these trays because they have a humidity dome. So that will help hold the heat in and help these germinate. I had my broccoli, kohlrabies, they germinated I planted them on Saturday. They were up on a Monday. And that's earlier than what the germination rate is. Another option you can do, you know, like I said, you don't have to have these nice trays. The Jiffy trays do have the lids. You can wrap them with saran wrap. But as soon as you start seeing seeds come up, cut that saran wrap off.
All right, y'all, it's going to wrap it up for today. Lisa's got a lot more seeds to plant, and I've got to go find something to do that surely has to be done so that I don't have to plant all these seeds. I'll be tending them in the garden. Guys, have a good day, a great week. Hit the old thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you hadn't, and if you have, we appreciate you. See you on the next one.